There you go. Let her rip.
Alright, Daniel, are you ready?
I guess.
Okay, relax. Alright, so first, a basic information about yourself. Like your age and stuff like that. Like, how old are you?
14.
And, what are your hobbies?
I collect coins, but it's more of a pastime.
Do you like coins?
Yes.
Well, I know that you like coins. Now, I always actually forget this myself. You were born in California, right?
Yes.
When did your family move here?
I'm not entirely sure on the dates. I think when I was 1 or 2.
So you don't remember anything about California at all?
Nope.
No? But, you go to California
Yes.
a lot. Do you like California?
It's nice there.
Do you prefer it to Oregon?
No.
Was that a question to please me? I'm kidding. You are Filipino, and how does Filipino culture influence your life at home and stuff?
Well, kind of. It's a pretty big influence, considering both of my parents are immigrants, but they came here a couple decades ago or so, maybe about 18, 25 years or so, or between there, I'm not entirely sure. But it's pretty significant, because whenever they're not speaking to me, or to the elderly, or to a visitor who isn't Filipino, mostly Americans, they're always speaking Tagalog or watching the Filipino channel on TV, or having a conversation to a family member I've never heard of in the Philippines on the phone.
And you don't speak Tagalog at all, do you?
Vaguely.
Like, do you know one or two things?
Yeah, I know a few words and phrases.
What do you know? Like, example.
Like, welcome is mabuhay.
Mabuhay. I probably butchered that.
Yeah, a little bit.
And, in what other ways does the culture play a role?
Food.
Food?
A lot of the times, my mom will occasionally make Filipino foods.
What kind?
Like lumpia, some pancit, and sometimes some chow mein.
And lumpia are the fried cylinders of dough, deep fried with like noodles and vegetables and meats, right?
Yes.
Yes. Do you prefer Filipino food to American food?
Sorry.
That's a microphone.
Oh.
As much as I love listening to the table, I'm a conversationalist.
I know. The table's boring.
Okie dokie.
Is the microphone securely in position?
Yes.
Alright. So, you prefer Filipino food?
To be honest, yeah.
Off-topic question. Why?
There's a bit more variety.
Variety?
Yeah, because to some extent, American food, the way I think of a lot of it sometimes is just burgers, hot dogs, and French fries.
So you can have like a stereotypical image of it?
A little bit.
Okay. How does your family support you? Like, what are your relations with your family like?
Everyone's quite good, although since I have so many cousins, my mom sometimes is on the phone and tells me she's talking to my cousin.
How many cousins do you have?
I have no idea. I just know that I have a lot, and every day my mom says something about a cousin or something. Like,
Cousin that you don't know?
yeah.
So I remember that one day when I went with you to Portland and we went to a person in your family's birthday party and you had no idea who anyone there was, even though they were all related to you. Does that happen often?
When we're in the United States, not every now and then. In the Philippines, quite a bit.
Okay. Would you say you're on good terms with your parents?
Yes, I would say that.
Like, okay, that's good. Um, so the you live essentially in what would be considered a nursing home. There's
Yeah, nursing
elderly
home
patients that your
or
mom takes
foster
care
home
of for
care.
a profession. What is that like?
It's it's different from the way I've seen my friends and other people live, because it's kind of normal for me. But when I tell, sometimes told very few people about this, but sometimes when I tell them that I live in a nursing home where my mom's a caretaker for elderly patients, it's it's very different when I finally come to reality that not everyone lives in the same way I do.
Yeah. If you were put yourself in the shoes of other people who live what they think of as a normal life, how do you think they would react in that kind of situation?
I think it would seem very different for them, because a lot of some people that I know, they don't really have older family members that live with them. They usually live in like a place like the Dorchester house, or
I mean, my grandmother lives there. I've never lived with my grandmother or any elderly person for that matter.
yeah.
Um, and it's obviously a full-time job, and it just takes up so much of your mom's time.
Yeah.
How does she get out to do shopping and stuff?
We have my stepfather. He's there a lot of the time. Then we have my two aunts. I know that sounds very vague.
How many aunts do you have?
I don't know either. I don't really know.
Same situation as the cousins?
Yeah, I don't really know the number of aunts, uncles, cousins I have. It's all I know is that it's a lot,
It's a lot.
and that somehow my mom remembers all of them and knows all the names and where they're from, and yeah.
Okay, so, school. Obviously, you're very quiet, mild-mannered, studious at school. Why are you?
Um,
Like, is it a cultural thing, or
to some extent, it's a
personal?
cultural thing, because my parents always want me to get good grades, to have a good profession, a good job, a good paying job, and be successful.
So, do you feel pressure?
Pressure sometimes, but not too often, because my every now and then my mom tells me that my cousin's graduating as an RN next year, or that my other cousin's studying to be a doctor, or my cousin's an engineer in Dubai or something.
So, are you are you working so hard at school more to make your family pleased with you, or for yourself? Do you
Well,
have the same ideas as them about what a school experience should be?
a little bit, but it's kind of I don't really want like it's kind of like I don't want to disappoint them, because my mom told me that she waited 6 years to process all the paperwork for her to get a visa to come to the United States, and she told me that my other aunt, waited 16 years
Whoa.
just for the paperwork to be
That's
processed.
really long.
Yes, it is. But I just don't want to disappoint them or disappoint my family, and I don't want my cousin to all go to school in the Philippines and go to really good universities to think of me as being an average student that accomplishes what's the word? That just accomplishes the average things.
So, is there someone in particular in your family who you want to be like in your education? Someone who really did a great job?
Well, in reference to like academics,
Yeah,
my
academics.
my aunt, her name's Stacy Kosachenko, although I just call her my Auntie Stacy. She graduated from Taft High School here in 2003, I think. And sometimes when me and my mom visit my aunt who lives in Lincoln City, on the one of the walls she has all the diplomas and awards and certificates posted there. She was on the National Honor Roll, National Honor Society, received the President's Education Award, got the Ford Foundation Scholarship, and she also received a letter from President Bill Clinton at the time.
That's pretty amazing.
Like sort of congratulating her on her academic achievements. And now she's a doctor of pharmacy from Pacific University, which before then she did her undergraduate work at University of Oregon. And to some extent I feel like I have to live up to that.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, because I don't want my cousins to think that I don't try hard enough.
So, school, the other side of it, it's not just academics. How are your friendships with people? Your relationships with who you see at school?
I would consider myself to have a relatively small group of friends and acquaintances. But on a social relationship, I kind of have like levels of people. So like there's schoolmates who are schoolmates, really, kind of self-explanatory. And there's classmates, acquaintances, and then friends. I have very few people who I consider friends. A good number of acquaintances and classmates and so on.
And what do you look for in someone you consider a true friend?
Friend, I try to stay around people who are good influences and aren't bad influences.
So like people who work as hard as you do,
Yeah,
don't get into trouble.
And those who don't cuss a lot. Or yeah.
I've never heard you cuss. I'm assuming you haven't.
No.
I haven't either.
I don't intend
I haven't
to.
either, and I actually think that's very unique, which is kind of a sad thing, but it's admirable.
If my parents would ever heard me cuss at all, or even the slightest hint that there's a cuss word that they might not know of, then I don't know what happens. I don't want to find out.
So that's another kind of unspoken expectation.
Yeah, it's pretty unspoken. It's just something you don't do in my family.
All right. So, are you as reserved out of school as you are in it?
I wouldn't think
Are your mannerisms the same?
I wouldn't say I'm reserved in the same way I am in school as I am out of school. I'm a bit more relaxed outside of school, because school, my parents sort of raised me with the same cultural beliefs and values that they grew up with, that their parents taught them when they were in the Philippines. That school is very, very important. You need to get good grades, get a good profession, go to college, go to university, get a well-paying job, and so you can have a good and successful life. And so I tend to take school more seriously than I see some other people, where they have a project to do in like 3 days and they're just sitting in class. Sometimes I see that, but I tend to take school a bit more seriously than when I'm out of school. Out of school I'm more relaxed because I'm sort of further away from the stress and pressures of assignments and grades.
You mentioned the culture about school in the Philippines. Have you heard much about schools in the Philippines themselves? How are they different from in America?
Well, when we were in the Philippines last year, I think, me, my mom, and another friend of ours, who is a nun.
A nun?
Yes. It's a bit odd walking through the airport with a nun beside you. People kind of stare. Yeah.
You ever seen anyone else walking in the airport with a nun?
Nope. But when we were in the Philippines, my stepfather, who recently resigned from being a professor at the Bataan Peninsula State University in the Philippines, in chemistry and physics. We visited his university, and it's 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 quite nice. It's a little bit upscale, but it's very
Like uniforms
yeah.
and
Oh,
everything.
in the Philippines, every single school has a uniform. There's uniforms. Students must wear their uniforms, and so it's kind of like even at the elementary schools they have uniforms, which I also visited one of those in my mom's hometown.
Oh,
But
you visited one of them.
yes,
So what are like the younger kids like in school?
at the elementary school, it was a relatively small school, but they had a on the campus there was one side of the campus where there was mainly buildings for the younger the younger grades like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then on the other side on a on a little bit higher hill because it was at the base of a hill. There was upper class and classrooms.
I've heard you mention high school entrance exams.
Yes, because recently my stepfather came back from the Philippines. I asked him to give me a few textbooks to help me study for school, and in the front cover or more like the back cover, it said other textbooks you can order from whatever company the textbook was made by, and there was and the boxes showing geometry, algebra, science, and physics, and then there was one that said high school entrance exams.
Weird.
Yeah.
That'd be weird over here. Um, so, in other words, schools in the Philippines are a bit more intense and
A little bit, because at my dad's university,
tightly
everyone
controlled.
has uniforms. Everyone has their student ID that you need to present to security um, at the campus limit.
So everyone takes it seriously.
Yes, I would say that. My dad's told me a few stories about his students. Um, some stories, like they're not in the from what my dad's told me. Philippine students aren't always so uptight, so strict, so boring that everyone might think they are. But they, I think they do take it seriously. Because sometimes my dad told me that they would sometimes make jokes about certain topics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but not. It's not. It's not like. It's not like. It's not like a military school.
Yeah.
But scaled down to fit a university standards.
So, careers. Obviously, a lot of people in your family have very good careers. What do you want to do for a career?
I think I've decided that I'd probably follow along the footsteps of my cousins in being maybe an engineer or a chemist or something in the scientific field or engineering realm.
And what inspired you to think about that?
Mainly just my mom just telling me every now and then that whenever sometimes when we're in the car, she tells me about college and what my cousins are studying, and it's kind of like always, oh, your cousin's studying to be an RN, or your cousin, he's an engineer, or like, oh, my sister, she's working for the Philippine Department of Agriculture. So I'm kind of influenced by that.
But are you personally interested in that career?
Yes.
Like, you think you would like it?
Yeah. So I've kind of been assimilated to with all my cousins being in the field.
Nice. Okay, so this is kind of a weird question, but it has bearing. What are the routines you do every day? Because obviously you're very methodical, fact-driven. What are the routines you do, and how are they different from maybe what other people do as routines?
Like from start to finish, like from when I wake up to when I.
Well, give me a sample.
Well, I wake up. Well, it's pretty vague. I mainly wake up on school days around 6:30, 6:45, somewhere between there. But if I'm catching the
And is that naturally or with an alarm?